Let us start today's class. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, Dhammas, brothers and sisters. Let us begin the class by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. I would like to briefly review the topic of Kamma. I am explaining so much about Kamma because if we understand how Kamma works, we will not fall into wrong view and will be able to know how to live our lives with fewer mistaken perception. As long as we have not yet eradicated the defilements, and wholesome states of mind will still continue to arise. When you encounter difficulties, do not blame others. Be patient, stay strong, and face them bravely. Before long, they will pass away. Once they are over, it means that one karma has already been repaid. Since karmas, whether wholesome or unwholesome, are countless, they will give result one after another according to conditions. People usually think they are fortunate when good things happen. But when they encounter suffering and misfortune, they tend to blame others. They often think that others are the cause of their suffering. However, if we blame others with dissatisfaction, resentment, and anger, we are merely creating new karma again. Yesterday, we were studying Kamma-paccaya and discussing the story of King Ingati. That story has not yet been completed, so let us continue listening to this. Princess Ruja, the king's daughter, know that her father had not abandoned his Miccha deity, wrong view. She joined her parents and prayed, "May any bhikkhu, deva, or Brahma who protects over the world come and help my father abandon this wrong view." At that time, in the Brahma war, the Brahma king named Narada, who was the Bodhisattva, the future Gautama Buddha, had her prayer, transforming himself into a highly venerable and reverential bhikkhu. He descended from the sky and came to the palace. The bhikkhu stood in the air above the king. Ruja, seeing the bhikkhu arrive, became extremely delighted and respectfully paid homage to him. The king could not sit on his throne because of the Brahma's power. Standing on the floor, he asked, "For what reason have you come here? What is your name? And from which lineage do you come?" Knowing that the king did not believe in the existence of the Brahma war, the Brahma king replied, I have come from the Brahma war, and everyone knows me as Narada. The king asked him again, how did you come here? How did you obtain this power? The Brahma king replied, I have spoken only the truth. I practiced 10 kinds of good conduct, the 10 Punya Kriya Vitu. I guarded the faculty of the eye and performed acts of generosity and giving. All of these wholesome actions I performed not just once, but many times throughout my past lives. Because of these deeds, I now possess this power and can go wherever I wish. The Brahma king then began explaining the result of Kusala Karma. The king asked again, Venerable Narada, I want to ask one question. Is it true that there is a next life, Para Loka? The Brahma king said, Indeed, there is a future life and there are such beings as mother and father. Those who are covered by delusion and attached to sensual pleasure says that there is no next life, because if they were to accept that there is a next life and hell, they would not be able to enjoy sensual pleasures as much as they like in this present life. In truth, the next life does exist. The king did not want to accept that there was a next life. So he joked, if there is a next life, please let me borrow 500 coins. I will return 1,000 to you in the next life. The Brahma king told him, if you were virtuous, I would dare to lend you 500, and you would surely return it to me. But now, since you commit evil deeds, you will go to the hell. How could I dare to give you a loan, and how could I ever ask for it back from you there? Lending money is only for those who deserve trust. Since you are destined for hell, I cannot dare to let you borrow. The Brahma king continued to describe in detail the immense suffering in hell. We will make it brief. As a result, the king became afraid of hell. After that, the Brahma king explained that those who practice dana and observe uposatha sila are reborn in the Deva worlds, and he described the great pleasure of living there. Finally, the king relinquished his wrong view and accepted the existence of a next life. Everyone was very happy, and Brahma king returned to the Brahma world. Let us return to reality. We must believe in karma and its result. Strive to perform as many kusala, wholesome deeds as possible. Some people think that it is enough for them if they just perform acts of generosity. With regard to the result of karma, the practice of virtue, sila, is superior to generosity, dana. The result of meditation is the most excellent of all, surpassing even Sila. Therefore, if one performs dana based on Sila, one's attention will be pure, and the offering will also be something properly obtained through right livelihood. In this way, it will bring excellent and wholesome results. However, if one practices dana alone without the foundation of Sila, it is not easy to obtain complete and fully wholesome result. Thus, I would like to encourage everyone to practice generosity dana according to one's ability based on Sila. And if possible, to go further and take up meditation practice as the next step. In truth, mindfulness and contemplation of the Dhamma can be practiced by anyone at any time and in any place. The reason it feels difficult is because we are unable to cut off sensual objects. People often make excuse saying, I don't want to practice, but I don't have time yet. And then they keep falling into the small gap of bad. Beauty bad. Even if one cannot yet go to a meditation retreat, one can still cultivate mindfulness in the present moment at all times and in all places, while working and going about daily activity, by keeping the mind fully established in the present. The nature of the mind is that it delights in external sense object. When it is made to stay with internal object, it becomes restless and agitated. For example, as stated in the Dhammapada, just as a fish taken out of water and placed on dry land, writhes and struggles, so too, when the mind is briefly out of from the sensual, external sensual object, in which it is habitually immersed, it is unable to remain with the object of meditation and becomes shaken and restless. First, we need to cultivate a wholesome mind. Those who have strong greed should try to reduce it through mindfulness. Those with strong anger, dosa, should try to lessen it through mindfulness. Those with strong pride, mana, should try to overcome it through mindfulness. And those who have strong envy, issa, and stinginess, material, should try to diminish these defilements through mindfulness. At the moment of death, there may be no Vaitikama, Karuka Kamma. If the middle five Javana Kamma from past life do not have the opportunity to give their result, then the proximate Kamma, Asana Kamma, the Kamma done at the near death moment, can arise. Regarding this Asana Kamma, there is a story about the father of Bhikkhu Sona from ancient Sri Lanka. The bhikkhu could not prevent his father from being a hunter. However, when his father grew old, he became a bhikkhu due to his son's encouragement. When he was lying on his deathbed, he became disoriented, and the sign of hell appeared into him. Numerous large dogs were running toward him, trying to devour him. He shouted, "My son, frighten them, frighten them." Bhikkhu Sona realized that his father was showing the sign of hell. He then asked people to gather many flowers and spread them on the bed. After that, they brought his father to a jediya while he lay on the bed. He said to his father, "Bande, here are many flowers. We offer them to the Buddha on behalf of you." At that moment, his father regained consciousness and saw the flowers, but soon became disoriented again. However, this time a new sign appeared to him, and he said, "My son, make way, your stepmother is coming." As he saw a female deva, shortly after he passed away and was reborn in the deva world. Concerning the importance of the near-death moment, there is another story of Upasaka Dhammika, a Sotapanna, during the time of Gautama Buddha. The commentary explained that he not only performed asana karma, prosmic karma, acting at the near-death moment, but also engaged in ajna karma, habitual karma cultivated throughout life, such as regularly observing Uposatha Sila and frequently discussing Dhamma with 500 Upasaka. When he was near death, he wanted to listen to Dhamma, so some bhikkhus came to chant Dhamma for him. While listening, he became disoriented and saw six chariots from six different deva worlds. A deva from each chariot said, "I will take him with my chariot." So they were making noise, and he said to them, "Please wait, please wait." At that moment, the bhikkhu who were chanting stopped, thinking that he had told them to stop chanting, and they went back. All the children cried, thinking that he had loved Dhamma his whole life, and now, at the moment of death, he seemed to hate Dhamma. When he regained consciousness, he asked his children where the bhikkhus were. They replied that all of them had already gone back because you had said, "Wait, wait." He told his children, "I said, wait, wait to the devas, not to the bhikkhus, because the devas were so noisy." His children did not believe him, so he asked them to take a flower garland and throw it up. He made a determination that the garland would hang on the two-seater Deva cart. The children could see the garland in the air, but they could not see the Deva cart. Only at that moment all the children felt happy and he admonished them, "If you want to follow my way, do wholesome deeds as I did." Then he passed away. When we perform kusala, wholesome action, and wish to receive their full results, we must be careful not to engage in akusala and wholesome action, either before or after performing kusala. If we are careless, wholesome action can be surrounded by unwholesome qualities such as lobha, greed, dosa, anger, mana, pride, before or after performing them. When this happens, no matter how much effort or money is spent, the result of such kusala karma will be very small. Just that Kamma Vajara Kusala Citta, wholesome sun-sphere consciousness, has 4 qualities. Let us see how its result also differ in 4 ways. Tihetuka Okata, superior mind with 3 wholesome rules, result in Tihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Number 2, Tihetuka Omaka, inferior mind with 3 wholesome rules, results in Trihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Number 3, Trihetuka Okata, superior mind with 2 wholesome rules, results in Trihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Number 4, Trihetuka Omaka, inferior mind with 2 wholesome rules, results in Ahetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Let us see Tihetuka Okata. When one performs kusala, wholesome action, with careful attention and wisdom, it has 3 rules. If the mind is also surrounded by kusala before and after performing that action, this is called Tihetuka Okata Kusala. Tihetuka means having 3 wholesome rules, and Okata means superior, due to being surrounded by kusala. Once such kusala produces its result, it gives rise to Tihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Let us see Tihetuka Omaka. When one performs kusala, wholesome action, with careful attention and wisdom, it has 3 rules. However, if the mind is surrounded by akusala before and after performing that action, this is called Tihetuka Omaka Kusala. Tihetuka means having 3 wholesome rules. Omaka means inferior, due to being surrounded by akusala. Once such kusala produces its result, it gives rise to Trihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Let us see Trihetuka Okata. When one performs kusala, wholesome action, not accompanied by wisdom, it has 2 rules. However, if the mind is surrounded by kusala before and after performing that action, this is called Trihetuka Okata Kusala. Trihetuka means having 2 wholesome rules, and Okata means superior due to being surrounded by kusala. Once such kusala produces its result, it gives rise to Trihetuka Paṭṭhāna Citta. Let us see the last one, Trihetuka Omaka. When one performs kusala, wholesome action, not accompanied by wisdom, it has two rules. However, if the mind is surrounded by akusala before and after performing that action, this is called trihetuka omaka kusala. Trihetuka means having two wholesome rules, and omaka means inferior, due to being surrounded by akusala. Once such kusala produces its result, it gives rise to ahetuka patisandi citta. So we have to be careful because our kusala cetana can produce different qualities of results. Let us review the two kinds of kamma again, nanakhamnika kamma and sahajata kamma. As I mentioned before, cetana is kamma. In sahajata kamma, it refers to ati, existence. Cetana exists in every citta. At the moment of citta arises, cetana stimulates the associated cetasika to take the same object as that citta. This is called sahajata cetana, the volition that arises together, which is also referred to as sahajata kamma. Nanakhanika kamma refers to nati, non-existent. After the sahajata cetana has ceased, the kamma that gives its result at a time, one that sahajata cetana no longer exists, is called nanakhanika kamma. The cause and its result occur at different times. In other words, while cetana is arising, it is called sahajata cetana or sahajata kamma. When that same cetana later produces its result, it is called nanakhanika cetana or nanakhanika kamma. The cetana associated with the 12 akusala citta is called 12 akusala cetana. The cetana associated with 21 kusala citta is called 21 kusala cetana. Both kusala citta and akusala citta arise during the 7 jhana movements of the cognitive process. For the 4 kinds of beings reborn in the 4 apaya, lower realms, their patisandi citta is the same. Ahetuka, akusala, vipāka, upekha santirana citta. Although the patisandi citta is the same in all 4 apaya, the degree of suffering differs among them due to the varying intensity of volition cetana when performing akusala action. The suffering of the dogs and cats in this country is very little. Being born as a dog or a cat is due to unwholesome karma. Whenever they get to see, hear, smell, taste, or touch anything pleasant, it is because another wholesome karma from their past life is giving its result. Let us look at radio. Some radio can receive frequency where, so the sound is clear, while other radios cannot receive the frequency properly, so the signal becomes choppy, and interrupted. However, all of them are still called radios. In the same way, look at cars. All are called cars, but due to differences in quality, their value and performance differ. Likewise, although the rebirth linking consciousness, Paṭṭhāna, is of one type, the quality of volition, Cetana, makes the result of karma differ. Human rebirth occurs as a result of Kamma-paccaya, wholesome karma. When one performs wholesome deeds, one of the 8 types of Kamma-paccaya kusala citta arises. These 8 types differ because of variation in the accompanying mental factors during the act of wholesome volition, such as whether it is accompanied by knowledge or not, accompanied by joy or not, and whether it is prompted by others or done spontaneously. Because of these differences, Kamma-paccaya kusala citta are classified into 8 types. In the same way, when they produce results, the resultant citta also arise in 8 corresponding types. The Paṭṭhāna citta, rebirth linking consciousness of a human being, is one of the 8 Kamma-paccaya Vipāka-paccaya. Similarly, the Paṭṭhāna citta of beings in the 6 Deva realms is also one of these 8 Kamma-paccaya Vipāka-paccaya. Although the Paṭṭhāna citta is the same in name, the quality of the resulting effects differs according to the quality of volition, Cetana. Even among human beings, although the rebirth linking consciousness, Paṭṭhāna citta, is the same in nature, the quality is not the same. For example, although the Paṭṭhāna citta of the Buddha, Venerable Sariputta, and Venerable Mahamoggallana is of the same category, first type among the 8 kinds of Kamma-paccaya Vipāka-paccaya. The quality of their resultant effect differs due to differences in the degree of wholesome volition, Cetana, at the time of performing meritorious deeds. Being reborn as a human is the result of Kamma-paccaya kusala karma. What is Kamma-paccaya kusala karma? There are 10 kinds of punya-kariya vitu, meritorious deeds: dana, sila, bhavana, apajayana, viyavacca, Paṭṭhāna, Paṭṭhānumodana, Dhammasavana, Dhammadesana, Daiṭṭhikama. Furthermore, Paṭṭhāna citta of beings in the 4 apaya realms is ahetuka akusala vipaka upekha santirana citta. Likewise, the Paṭṭhāna citta of an ahetuka human individual is the ahetuka kusala vipaka upekha santirana citta. A trihetuka omaka kusala karma can produce this type of rebirth linking consciousness, leading to deficiency of mental faculties and defects in physical organs from birth. Some individuals are born blind, deaf, or mute. Such congenital defects are attributed to the result of a rootless, wholesome resultant, ahituka, kusala vipāka, upekha santirana, citta, which lead to deficiency in bodily faculties from birth. However, medical doctors may say that it is due to a deficiency of something. That must also be correct. In reality, when there is a deficiency in faculties, it is the result of karma. For example, a person may get hit by a car and die. When the cause is investigated, the immediate cause is found to be the negligence of the car driver, which lead to the person's death at a time when she should not have yet died. However, the principal cause is the karma performed in a past life that resulted in death under such circumstance. And his lifespan producing karma had also come to an end. In one car accident case in Myanmar, a man was dragged along by a car for several minutes, yet he did not die. However, he suffered severe injuries. Since he did not have the karma to die from that accident and his lifespan producing karma had not yet expired, so he survived. Moreover, people may have heard of case in which only one person survives an airplane crash. This is because that person did not have the karma to die in that situation. Situations like this are extremely rare for survival. Normally, through kusala or akusala karma, we receive the result, vipāka, as either an undesirable object or desirable object. When we refer to an undesirable or desirable object, we base it on the common sense accepted by the majority of human beings. An object that cannot provide happiness or satisfaction to anyone is called an undesirable object, while a desirable object is the opposite. For example, a dead dog that is very stinky is an undesirable object for a human being, but it is a desirable object for a vulture, which usually eats rotten meat. Seeing a stinky dead dog on the road indicates that we are experiencing the result of akusala karma in our eye consciousness, cakkhu viññāṇa. In general, perceiving any undesirable visible object occurs because of akusala vipāka in cakkhu viññāṇa, eye consciousness. Similarly, experiencing undesirable sound, smell, taste, and tactile sensation are the result of unwholesome karma, akusala karma. In other words, experiencing desirable objects through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching is the result of wholesome karma, kusala karma, manifested as resultant consciousness. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. The time at which karma is performed and the time at which it gives its result are different. While karma is being performed, it cannot give its result immediately. It can only produce its result when the appropriate conditions are present. If wholesome actions could produce their results instantly, then, for example, one would become a deva immediately upon observing sila right now. This is not possible. The relationship between karma and its result is that if one does good action, one will receive good result. If one does bad actions, one will receive bad result. Every karma has its own corresponding result. We can also receive the result of karma performed in many past lives or even in many past world cycles. Naturally, ordinary people, Puthujana, perform both kusala karma and akusala karma. After doing bad deeds, we should not surrender to karma. Instead, we should perform more good deeds throughout our whole life. In this way, the result of unwholesome karma may be delayed. In other words, after committing an unwholesome karma, one should strive to perform many wholesome karma. Except for avoiding Karuka karma, most other karma can be modified. Karuka karma refers to actions that inevitably give their result in a future life. For example, the deeds committed by Venerable Devadatta, such as causing the Buddha to shed blood, Lohitopadaka karma, and causing a schism in the Sangha, Sangha-bedaka karma. Even the very heavy Karuka karma of King Ajatasattu, the killing of his own father, was lessened by his immense meritorious karma, such as venerating the Buddha and the Sangha with great devotion and supporting the preservation of the sasana for a long time, listening Samanya Palasutta. Because these powerful wholesome karma counteracted and weakened the force of that grave and wholesome karma, he did not fall into Avijji hell, but instead was reborn in the much less severe Loha Gombi hell. Therefore, after committing an akusala karma, we should strive to perform many kusala karma. Regarding Venerable Devadatta, the Buddha prophecy in the Jula Waka Pali. Devadatta apayiko nirayiko, meaning Devadatta will fall into the woeful state. He will go to hell. The Buddha definitely said this. Ate Gecho, it cannot be changed, it cannot be cured. Kapato, he will suffer in hell for an entire world cycle. Regarding this statement, some bhikkhus wondered, how can the Buddha speak with such certainty? The Buddha explained, if Devadatta still possesses even a tiny amount of kusala, as small as the tip of a needle, I would not have spoken so definitively. He could speak with certainty about a person like Devadatta who would be reborn in hell, but he did not speak so surely about others going to hell. The way the Buddha preached was not like that of others. For example, regarding Pāṭṭhāna, killing living beings, Nikanda Nata Buddha, the naked ascetics declare, whoever commits Pāṭṭhāna karma will be reborn in hell. However, the Buddha did not teach in the same way regarding Pāṭṭhāna. The Buddha declared, Pāṭṭhāna niraya samuttaniko, meaning one who commits Pāṭṭhāna karma may be reborn in hell. The Buddha did not say he will certainly to go to hell. Rather, he taught only that he may go to hell. However, if an unwholesome karma is weighty enough to produce its result in the very next life, that person will be reborn in hell and experience the corresponding suffering, as in the case of Devadatta. In the Santagavesi Sutta, the Buddha taught how the results of certain akusala karma may be lessened or delayed. Ordinary people may commit unwholesome deeds. After doing akusala and wholesome deeds, one need not become sorrowful or despairing. One only needs to follow these steps. Recognizing the akusala and wholesome action that was committed. Understand that it was wrong to do it. Confess the mistake to a teacher or trustworthy friend. Resolve not to repeat the same mistake again. Continue performing wholesome deeds. By doing so, one may delay the result of akusala karma that was committed, though it cannot be completely erased. Depending on supporting conditions, karma will produce its result. However, akusala karma may not have the opportunity to bear fruit when favorable conditions are present. In the Lonaka-Panla Sutta, the Buddha gave the simile of a lump of salt. If a lump of salt is put into a cup of water, the water becomes too salty to drink. However, if the same amount of salt is thrown into a lake or a river, the saltiness becomes greatly diluted due to the large volume of water. Similarly, if a person is worthy, he may sometimes avoid punishment even after committing a crime. Or a person who has connection with a powerful authority may also escape punishment despite having committed wrongdoing. This is called having favorable conditions. Similarly, one person may perform many wholesome deeds and be virtuous. Yet, as a Paṭṭhāna, he may occasionally commit unwholesome actions. Another person may be unvirtuous and habitually engaged in akusala. Their result will differ. The virtuous person, having favorable condition of sila, samadhi, and panya, may find that kusala outweigh akusala, even when he does wrong. The unvirtuous person, lacking these good conditions, will experience the full result of his akusala and suffer for a long time. Karma is not something to give up, but something that can be refined and improved. We should replace unwholesome actions with wholesome ones. By understanding karma, avoiding unwholesome deeds, and cultivating wholesome actions, we can progress from one good existence to another while still remaining within samsara. On the other hand, if we become weary of samsara and no longer wish to experience the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and if we can completely eradicate the defilements, kilesa, then all accumulated karma, whether wholesome or unwholesome, will no longer be able to produce results, and we will attain the cessation of all suffering. The Buddha did not praise any form of existence. Because all existence is associated with suffering, just that even a small amount of feces is regarded as repulsive. So too, conditioned existence, whether experienced as pleasant or unpleasant, ultimately ends in aging, sickness, and death. Therefore, it is nothing but true suffering. Now we have learned about Kamma-paccaya. When people come to understand karma and how it gives result, most of them became to fear karma and its consequences. Actually, we do not need to be afraid of karma. Instead of repeatedly thinking on the akusala karma we have done, we should turn our attention again and again to the kusala karma we have performed. In the present moment, we should try to do as much kusala as possible, such as dana, sila, meditation, helping others, and listening to Dhamma, and strive to avoid akusala. Especially if we keep the mind fully present in the present moment, being mindful while seeing, hearing, or eating, we can clearly recognize any defilements that arise in the mind. The Buddha taught in the Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, Saragam wa cittam, saragam cittandi pajanati. If the mind is with raga, one understands it as a mind with raga. Raga is akusala, but When we contemplate the mind accompanied by raga in the present moment, the very act of clear knowing is kusala. Sadosam wa chaitam, sadosam chaitanti vajanati. When the mind is with dosa, anger, one understands it as a mind with dosa. The Blessed One encourages us to be fully aware of the mind as it is when anger arises. Just that one cannot touch the tip of a finger with the same finger. The mind can only know one mental object at a time. When anger is present, no other mental state can arise simultaneously in that same moment of consciousness. When there is a mind that clearly knows anger as anger, that act of clearly knowing itself is wholesome. And in that moment, anger is no longer present as a defined state. Although anger, dosa, is unwholesome, at the very moment it is clearly known as anger, the knowing consciousness itself, mindfulness and clear comprehension is wholesome, kusala. Therefore, we do not need to be afraid of defilements arising in the mind. Defilements arise every day because most of us are ordinary people who have not yet eradicated them completely. Through the six sense doors, defilements arise one after another. We don't need to fear their arising. What we should be concerned about is not recognizing them when they arise. The key is to be aware of defilements as they occur. Defilements cannot be stopped immediately. They will continue to arise. If one becomes weary of the suffering of samsara and wishes to be liberated from it, then contemplating the Dhamma or being mindfully aware of things as they truly arise in the present moment may become the condition for the attaining the path of stream entry, Sotabhati Magga, in this life or a future life. Once the path of stream entry, Sotabhati Magga, has been attained, the unwholesome karma that could lead to rebirth in the four woeful state will no longer be able to produce their results and are completely cut off. The four benefits that can be expected with regard to the attainment of Sotabhati Magga are taught by the Buddha in the Sotanukkata Sutta and Anguttara Nikaya, Cetokka Nipada, Mahāvagga. Someone who learns and listens to the Dhamma, recites it and reflects on it wholeheartedly, and understands it penetratively with Panya. This means he learns, recites, and practices meditation, thereby developing Vipassana Jnana. When he passed away, he will be reborn in the Deva realm and immediately attain Sotabhati Magga. This is the first benefit that can be expected from diligently learning, reciting, and practicing meditation in this very life. If that person cannot immediately attain Sotapatimagga upon being reborn in the Deva plane, when a bhikkhu with abhanya, supernormal powers, comes and preaches the Dhamma there, he listens and remembers, this is the Dhamma I have practiced. Then he immediately attains Sotapatimagga. This is the second benefit that can be expected from diligently learning, reciting, and practicing meditation in this very life. Another one is when a person is reborn in the Deva plane but cannot yet attain Sotapatimagga, and no bhikkhu with abhanya, supernormal powers, come to preach the Dhamma there. However, a Deva from the Deva plane preached the Dhamma, and he listens and remembers, this is the Dhamma I have practiced. Then he can immediately attain Sotapatimagga. This is the third benefit that can be expected from diligently learning, reciting, and practicing meditation in this very life. Another one is when a person is reborn in the Deva plane but cannot yet attain Sotapatimagga, and no bhikkhu with abhanya, supernormal powers, comes to preach the Dhamma there, even if a Deva from the Deva plane does not preach the Dhamma. When a Deva who was his friend and arrived in the Deva plane earlier remind him, saying, remember the Dhamma that we practice as human beings, he recall it and immediately attains Sotapatimagga. This is the fourth benefit that can be expected from diligently learning, reciting, and practicing meditation in this very life. Let me conclude the discussion on Kamma-paccaya here, and now we will move on to examine Vipāka-paccaya. Resultant condition. Vipāka is composed of vi and paka. Vi means not the same. Paka means result. What is not the same? Kusala and akusala are not the same. Kusala is free from fault and produce good results, while akusala is with fault and produce bad result. Vipāka is the result of kusala and akusala, which are inherently different in nature. Since Vipāka is the result, it is passive, effortless, and quiet. Therefore, the results of akusala karma and akusala karma arise passively, effortlessly, and quietly. What is the result of Magga? Such as Sotapatimagga, the result of Sotapatimagga is Sotapatiphala. The result of Magga is Phala, the fruition, and it is also calm and quiet. Let us look at the Bhavanga-citta, the mind that occurs during sleep. In a single lifetime, the Paṭṭhāna river consciousness, the Bhavanga-citta life continuing consciousness, and Juti-citta death consciousness are all results produced by karma. They are Vipāka-citta. At the moment of rebirth, it functions as the Paṭṭhāna. Throughout life, During moments when there is no arising of sense object, especially during sleep, it functions as the Bhavanga-citta to maintain the continuity of its consciousness. Finally, at the moment of death, it functions as the Chuti-citta. If rebirth consciousness, Paṭṭhāna, arises together with the three wholesome rules, non-greed, alobha, non-hatred, dosa, non-delusion, moha, then the Bhavanga-citta, life continuing consciousness that occurs during sleep also arises with those same three rules. If piti, joy, is included in the Paṭṭhāna, the sleeping phase will appear joyful and pleasant. If piti is not included in the Paṭṭhāna, the sleeping phase will not look joyful, maybe stand and still. Within one lifetime, the Paṭṭhāna, Bhavanga-citta, and Chuti-citta are all of the same type of consciousness. But because they perform different functions, they are given different names. The object of rebirth linking consciousness, Paṭṭhāna, life continuing consciousness, Bhavanga-citta, and death consciousness, Chuti-citta, in a human existence is the very same wholesome object that appeared at the time of dead proximic jhana in the past life as Kamma, Kamma sign, Kamma nimitta, or sign of destiny, Gati nimitta. Generally, if the Paṭṭhāna is accompanied by amoha, pinya, wisdom, the child mind will be very sharp even from a young age. If amoha, wisdom, is absent in the Paṭṭhāna, the child's intelligence will be only average from childhood onward. The Paṭṭhāna, sleeping citta, and the citta involved in the five-door cognitive process, Chakku Vijnana, eye consciousness, Sota Vijnana, ear consciousness, Gana Vijnana, nose consciousness, Jiva Vijnana, tongue consciousness, Kaya Vijnana, body consciousness, as well as Sampatejana, Santirana, Dadaramana, are all resultant consciousness, Vipāka-citta. The sleeping mind, when free from dreams, is extremely calm and quiet. The nature of Vipāka-citta is like a person resting under the shade with a gentle breeze blowing. How cool and peaceful it is. Similarly, Kusala Vipāka-citta is quiet, inactive, and cool. Akusala Vipāka-citta is also same. You might have seen a dog or a cat sleeping. It looks very calm and quiet. This is the nature of Vipāka-citta. Among all types of citta, Vipāka-citta is not sharp. It's devoid of effort and is merely the appearance of the result of karma. It is inactive and quiet. For example, Vipāka-citta is like an image reflected in a mirror or captured in a photograph. Such an image cannot be changed. The 5 kinds of pasada rupa are caused by karma. Although they are result of karma, they are not called vipaka. In other words, although kammaja rupa arises from karma, it is not called vipaka. Vipaka refers only to nama dhamma that has the same nature as cetana, volition. For example, from a seed, sprouts, roots, stems, branches, leaf, flower arises. Eventually leading to fruits. But only the fruit, which has the same nature as the seed, is called the fruit, the result of seed. The rest, sprouts, roots, stems, branches, leaves, flowers, cannot be called fruit. Similarly, Vipāka-paccaya refers only to nama dhamma because the cause of karma cetana is nama. Let's go to see Pali sentence. Vipāka cattaro khanda arupino iññamiññam Vipāka-paccayena paccayo. Vipāka means resultant. Cattaro is 4. Khanda is aggregate. Arupino, mental. Arupino means Rupino means rupa, matter. Arupino means not matter. That means mental. Arupino is mental. So Vipāka cattaro khanda arupino means the 4 mental resultant aggregate. Iññamiññam, mutually one another. Vipāka-paccayena, by way of resultant condition. Paccayo, support. The whole sentence means the 4 mental resultant aggregate, 4 vipaka namakkhanda, mutually support one another by way of resultant condition. Vipāka-paccaya. The 4 mental resultant aggregates are Vedana-khanda, Sanya-khanda, Sankhara-khanda, Vijnana-khanda. For example, in Chakku Vijnana, eye consciousness, there are 7 cetasika and 1 citta. Vedana is, citta is Vijnana-khanda, Vedana is Vedana-khanda, Sanya is Sanya-khanda, the remaining are Sankhara-khanda. Thus, these 4 vipaka namakkhanda mutually support one another through resultant condition. Keep in mind that rupa or nama always arise in a group. For example, Chakku Vijnana, eye consciousness, arises together with 7 cetasika. They cannot be separated. If they are separated, there is no more energy and Chakku Vijnana will seek to exist. It is just like a car. If the car is separated into pieces, it can no longer be called a car and it cannot be used as one. Furthermore, 2 citta cannot arise at the same time. We experience only 1 citta at a time. After 1 citta disappears, another arises. This is like the wheels of a car touching the road. Only one part of the wheel touches the road at a time. not entirely we simultaneously. There are altogether 36 Vipāka-paccaya. 7 akusala Vipāka Ahetuka-paccaya. This akusala Vipāka is only 7. The rest are kusala Vipāka-paccaya, altogether 29. 8 kusala Vipāka Ahetuka-paccaya, 8 maha, 8 Kamma-vajara Vipāka-paccaya, 5 Rupa-vajara Vipāka-paccaya, 4 Arupa-vajara Vipāka-paccaya, 4 Lokuttara Vipāka-paccaya. So 7 akusala Vipāka-paccaya and 29 kusala Vipāka-paccaya, altogether 36 Vipāka-paccaya, resultant consciousness. Not all of these 36 Vipāka-paccaya arise in every person. However, Chakku Viññāna, Sota Viññāna, Gana Viññāna, Jiva Viññāna, Kaya Viññāna, Sampaticana, Santirana, Tadaramana arise in us every day. Among the Vipāka-paccaya, 7 akusala Vipāka-paccaya, 8 ahetuka kusala Vipāka-paccaya, and 8 8 Kamma-vajara Vipāka-paccaya, a total of 28, also arise in a total of 23 Vipāka-paccaya also arise in us mostly every day. However, Rupa-vajara Vipāka-paccaya and Arupa-vajara Vipāka-paccaya arise only in those who have attained Rupa jhana and Arupa jhana respectively. Sotapatti-paccaya arises only in Sotapanna. Sakadagami-paccaya arises only in a Sakadagami. Anagami-paccaya arises only in an Anagami. Arahata-paccaya arises only in an Arahant. Paccaya is different from jhana-paccaya. A person who has attained the 4 jhana can enter any jhana at will. So any jhana-paccaya can arise in him. However, an Ariya person cannot enter any paccaya at will. He can only enter the specific paccaya corresponding to his attainment. For example, a Sakadagami cannot enter the Sotapatti-paccaya. He can only enter the Sakadagami-paccaya that he has actually attained. Furthermore, some people say that Lokiya-paccaya cannot arise in a Buddha and that every paccaya arising in the Buddha is always accompanied by paññā. It is not correct. Chakku Viññāna, eye consciousness. Sampaticana, receiving consciousness. Santirana, investigating consciousness, and other such paccaya also arise in the Buddha every day. These paccaya are Lokiya-paccaya and are not accompanied by paññā. Only the Javana-paccaya that arise in him are always accompanied by paññā. Even the Buddha's Hasitopada-paccaya, the smile-producing consciousness, is not accompanied by paññā. For example, when the Buddha went for alms round, he smiled upon seeing a female pig. The female pig had been a Brahma in one of her past lives. The Buddha smiled because he knew that she had been a Brahma in a life before her previous existence. This knowing occurred because the preceding Chaita in him possessed jnana, wisdom. However, the Chaita that produced the smile, Hasitopada Chaita, was not accompanied by jnana, wisdom. Thus, Lokiya Chaita can arise even in a Buddha, and he can also enter Lokiya jhana. Only Akusala Chaita never arises in the Buddha. Let me conclude our discussion on Vipāka-paccaya here. We will learn about Ahara-paccaya in the next session tomorrow. Let us share the wholesome merit gained from sharing Paṭṭhāna and listening to the Paṭṭhāna Dhamma with all beings, seen and unseen, near and far, including all devas, Brahma, human, and living beings throughout the universe. By reciting together, Idami Punya. Idami Punya Asawakaya Waham Hotu. Idami Punya Nibbanasa Paccayo Hotu. Mama Punya Bhagam Sabba Satanam Pajimi Te Sabbe Me Samam Punya Bhagam Labantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all Dhamma friends be well, peaceful, and free from suffering. May you diligently cultivate generosity, morality, and meditation, and gradually overcome all defilements. And may you soon realize Nibbana, the complete cessation of all suffering.